Today's tinkering is assisted by Kilter Brewing's Vintage Brown Ale. As seems to be common these days, there are literally no tasting notes on the thing at all, so I guess I'll have to enjoy it as it is without any preconceived notions. That is nice and malty. I appreciate that. And I hope that'll help keep me from getting too grumpy about my topic, because my topic is power tool batteries. And the thing that annoys me the most about power tool batteries is that they are incompatible with each other from one brand to another. Yes, I know, vendor lock-in, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. As a customer, it pisses me off. Anyway, I happen to luck into this stack right here. These are Yardworks branded batteries that I picked up at a thrift shop, a used shop, a secondhand store, a charity shop, if you will, for the princely sum of 10 Canadian dollars, including the charger, this battery, and this battery. These are Yardworks brand, which isn't one of the major brands. It's, I don't know. Let's do a bit of looking and see where this is from. Apparently Yardworks is sold in Canada by Canadian Tire. And it is weed whackers and mowers and leaf blowers and that kind of power tool. So yard equipment. Oh, chainsaws. Okay. And the batteries aren't cheap. Like $80 for a 2 amp hour battery. That's, that's not super cheap. Canadian dollars, but still, it's not super cheap. You can also get them on Amazon for $70 for a pair of them. Are those two? What are those? Those are 3.5 amp hour? Really? Wow. Okay. For the Americans in the crowd, you can also get this same brand at Menards, apparently, for $53 American, which I guess is pretty close to the Canadian price. Not sure if those ones at Amazon are knockoffs or not. Whatever. Doesn't matter. That's what these batteries are. The ones that I have are 2.6 amp hour. So if these have any juice in them, or any capacity in them, then I can probably hack them to work with my Ryobi stuff. The batteries that I've got for the Ryobi system are, what do they call themselves, 24 watt hours. What is that in amp hours? Doesn't matter. They're clearly have less batteries in them, or less cells in them than these. I'm going to guess that these are just a single series string of probably 18650s, and these ones, judging by the girth of them, may have double that in them. I'm hoping, anyway. And both of these batteries, according to their internal tester, were already fully charged when I got them, so that is a nice touch. And let's just see what happens if we throw one of them onto the charger, if the charger works. Yeah, it looks like the charger works too. So for $10, I think that's a hell of a deal. Even if all I ever do is salvage the cells out of these or transplant them into these things, that is a hell of a deal for, what are these? 20 divided by 4, so 5, maybe up to 20 lithium cells. But I hope to do more than just that. However, initially, what I want to do is pop into them and just see what is inside, because I'm pretty sure, but I would like to know for certain. So there's 2 screws down on the bottom here. They are these security bits, of course, so I will use one of the many bits that I've accumulated over the years and get these apart and just see what's going on inside them. What I'm expecting to see is, like I said, 2 series strings of cells, probably 18650s, and then a charge protection balancing kind of circuit board in them, and hopefully not much else. And I am fully aware that these are fully charged lithium-ion cells that I'm messing with here, so I'm going to be a little bit careful. Oh wow, looky that. There's all kinds of goodness going on in there. That slides out easily. And yeah, there we go. We have 2 series strings of 5 18650 cells, and then those are in parallel. there is the little charge state indicator board. So on the plastic here, that is marked as the negative, that is marked as the positive. Those two middle ones seem to go nowhere, unless they drop down below, but I don't think so. Anyway, that positive one goes back here through this 30 amp fuse. Oh, very nice touch. And then back to the most positive tab of the actual batteries. I'm guessing that this negative one drops down through there and ends up over here at the negative end somewhere. Just looking down underneath the board here, these two middle pins, can you see that shiny silverness back there? Yeah, that is those two. Okay, so they do connect down to the board to do something or other. But I think we can just pull power off here without having to involve ourselves with those. At least I hope so. It'd be nice not to have to mess with the various protection circuitry in there. Yeah, look at that. Fully charged up to 20 volts. That is awesome. Let's check the balance between the pairs of cells, realizing that pairs of cells you can't get a perfect measurement. 4.021. 4.088, a little bit different. 4.047. Come on, get in there. 4.033, and the last 4.070. So a few tenths of a volt different between cells. That's not too bad. I can live with that, I think, especially for $5 a battery. Now the question is, how do I adapt this to my Ryobi system? How do I slide that back in there? That just goes in like that, I guess, kinda. What holds it in? Oh, okay, it's held in by that. All right, that's cool. So I wonder, should I just replace the top of this? Top of one of those? Probably not. I think I want to explore coming up with a 3D printed adapter or something. Let me just reassemble this guy and then we'll take a look at some of how that might work. So the first thing I did is went on the usual Thingiverse, printables, things, etc., and found what looked like a pretty good adapter for the Ryobi drills. And it looks like it matches that battery, except for when I printed it out, it doesn't. It's not quite tall enough. Everything else is right, and it fits on there and everything. It even has this little latchy adapter thing that clips in there to hold it in place. But unfortunately, it's not long enough for that to reach the contacts. And I suppose I could have modified that and just stretched that up. I did modify it a little bit in FreakHead by adding a hole through there and through there for wires to get through, because it didn't come with any of those. It just came with little cutouts. But I decided that wasn't a great option. And looking more at it, I figured I could probably model it, or at least close enough model it. So I set that aside and went looking for an adapter for these batteries. And I found this one, which I should have looked at beforehand because it is the same as the top of the battery. It is not the mating piece. Plus, it's too narrow anyway. So that's the wrong size too. I'm not quite sure what the people that were uploading those, or if I didn't scale them right, or if I scaled them when I shouldn't have or something. I don't know. Anyway, those two can go off into the pile of wasted filament. So then I spent a few hours modeling and came up with a model that may work. That is pretty much the same profile as that, except for I didn't get the measurements quite right, as you can see there, and it didn't quite fit. Which is why I printed it just a little bit. I just printed part of my model so that I wouldn't waste extra filament, but I could still validate. And then the bottom part, again, I printed just part of it from my model, but unfortunately I messed up transcribing the measurements, and it doesn't fit there because this width should be that width there, and it is only this inner width. But overall, the dimensions looked like it would work, so I took those measurements and went back to the drawing board and came up with this. And this one does have the length of that correct, and it does have the size of it correct, and it does actually fit onto here. So I think that should be good. I may want to adjust it a little bit more just to make this look nice and stuff, but I think that will allow me to do this. And this is what I was hoping. Of course, I still have a little bit more to do. I don't have a latch on there yet. This latches in pretty well. That's just that tab holding into the layer lines from that unsupported area. So I probably should model in a little groove there and maybe steal this idea or something else, but we'll worry about that later. Right now we're up to kind of real time in my experimenting. Obviously these prints were lengthy and I didn't do them just while you were watching here, but anyway, so I have to figure out how to get the electricity across and get everything mounted up. So here's what I'm thinking. For these little tabs in here, and we just need these two terminals here, kind of like that. I'm thinking I will cut down a little piece of this circuit board material just into a tab there, and then run the wire through and solder it to the bottom of it. Because judging by the marks on here, I only need to go about halfway down with the contacts, so I should be able to just keep the wire in the corner there. So that's for that. Then to get into these things, I need a little blade to go in there and there, and I think the circuit board material might be a little bit too thick. Plus, it's not double-sided circuit board material. So maybe if I use one of these spade terminals, maybe like that, or like that. Yeah, that red one slots in, that yellow one, it also goes in, but that's a little bit big. I think I'm going to stick with the red one. And if needs be, I may even slide the insulation off it to make it fit. Kind of like that. Yeah, I think that'll work. So if I have those jammed in there, and when I slide that on, I should hopefully come somewhere in the vicinity of these two notches that I left back there. And I left an enormous hollow space back here for running the wires, just so that they don't get in my way. It's a very rough model, but that's kind of where I'm at in my skill journey of model making. I haven't really come up with an idea of how to hold the wires in there, but I just want to make sure that that fits deep enough in there and I can get a decent alignment and stuff. So I'll just use that chunk of blue tack to hopefully make a mark. There we go. Well, that doesn't appear to go very far, and right there is where the end of the battery, this part here, collided. So I've missed on that measurement by about 14 millimeters. But the good news is I got the spacing correct, so that's something anyway. Now then, why doesn't that go all the way in? I'm just going to mark where the edge of that piece is and slide that. Oh wow, you see that gap in there? Yeah, this thing's colliding up here. Okay, do I really need that? If I cut that off there, will that cause any problems with the drill? I don't think so. Prototyping isn't always pretty. Oh yeah, that's much more like it. Okay, I will adjust that in my model later, but let's see if there are any other modifications that I need to make to this thing. Well, there are a couple of cut off pieces of that circuit board material. I'm just going to use my little fiberglass brush here to scuff up the corner of it so I can get a good solder on it. I'm not too worried about the other surfaces where the contacts are going to be rubbing on it because, you know, they're going to be rubbing on it, so that shouldn't be a big deal. But it's nice to get a good solder connection. And I think I'll use just 18 gauge wire. Might as well use black and yellow, or black and red, I mean. Could use anything, of course, but might as well use those. Oh, the other thing I need to think about, where are my positive and negatives? On this battery, the positives on this side, so the side that I've got the tape on. And on this battery, of course, the positives on the opposite side. Okay, so these have to crisscross. Remember that. Don't want to be blowing up tools unnecessarily. So that's the positive one. It'll be going there. So I want to come out the bottom right corner of that one with my solder. All right. We tin everything up. And then I think I want to be coming out at an angle like that so I can get in behind. Hopefully that'll work. Part of the trick, I think, is going to be getting that in there and to go down the hole that I modeled inside, because they're not huge. I may have actually boned myself a little bit here. We'll see if that works. This is going to be interesting. Is this working? It's working. Yay. There is how I did it. I just put some skinnier telephone wire through there, soldered it on, and use that as a fish wire to get it through there. I needed to use my tweezers to reach in the hole. I think in the final model I will make this vertical hole bigger and maybe try and chamfer the insides of that if I can. And I think I'll use just a little blob of hot glue to hold that in, so I'll see you in a minute or two after this has heated up and I've got that in there. Alright, now that those are in there, and I think they look pretty legit. Black is on this side, and that is negative. Positive's on that side, and that's red. Okay, good. I have made stupider mistakes. So anyway, now then we need that's going in that way, so we need the black to be on this side. I'll put them like that for now, and I will triple check them later. And even though these are crimp connectors, I think I'm just going to solder them on. Yeah, I think that makes a certain amount of sense in this application. I don't need the crimp. I think this will do good. Plus, it'll stiffen it up a little bit too. And the main reason to want to stiffen that up is just for positioning. I think that'll be okay once it cools down enough to handle. And then I'll double, triple check which side those go on and slide them into their holes. I have to assume I'm probably going to end up using more hot glue again to put them in there, but we will see. So that goes on that way, which means negative goes to this side and into that slot. Yeah, this is going to be more fiddliness, isn't it? That goes into that slot, and the positive one goes over here and into that slot. Oh, that wasn't quite so bad. Just bend those a little bit more into place, and hopefully, so without gluing them into place, do we have power? Ah, look at that! Woohoo! Okay, now I'm going to fiddle around and try and find out how to get some glue in there to hold the connectors in place without gluing the two things together. I'm not sure if you want to watch that struggle or not, but yeah, I will do that and come back for the triumphant reveal at the end. All right, let's see if this turned out and if I managed to not glue it together. Oh man, I managed to glue it together. Damn it. Oh, this is going to be awkward. One moment, please. Good thing this is only a prototype. So how have I done here? Yeah, they're kind of held in there. Wow, That was just that little bit of glue there that was holding it. Let me just clean those little bits of glue off here and reassemble it and see if it does the job that it was intended to do. Which is, of course, this. Oh, yeah, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. Now then, I have to come up with some kind of a latching system there. But other than that, well, okay. So I have to come up with a latching system. This is what the official battery uses. Just a little clip there and a little flexure. So I wonder if I could design that into the side of there without interfering with this too much. I may use, I don't know, I'll think on that. If anybody's got any ideas, I'll leave them down below. So I don't think there is room in there to put this, because that would have to be up there, and that would interfere with this. That's not going to work. Maybe I just wrap some Kapton tape around it and be done with it. I don't know. So I have to model this little notch into the bottom of there to make this an appropriate length and come up with that. But other than that, I think that is a win. Excellent prototype. What do you guys think? Or do you have better ideas? Do you know of somebody who's modeled it and done it properly so that I don't have to go to the extra work? Although I still want to do it myself anyway, just for the old do-it-yourself thing, right? Anyway, yeah, so that is all I wanted to accomplish today, is get that prototype working. This is the culmination of, a few days of printing and a couple of afternoons on the weekend, not the weekend you're watching this, a couple of weekends ago, of modeling and figuring out how to do the model. If you leave out a lot of the little bitty features like that, it doesn't matter. Those little bits don't matter. You can simplify it down to some fairly basic shapes. Oh yeah, and I want to expand that hole in the middle there too. But in the meantime, like I said, this is a winning prototype. Thanks for watching, everybody. Questions or comments down below as usual. I will talk to you later.